Now, one of the things I do in my book is I spend like the first half of the book telling what I think are some wonderful stories about the development of democracy in Iran and in Turkey over the last 100 years. This is a pretty unknown story in the US, and many of the figures that I bring up as historically important are people that most of you will have never heard of. Nonetheless, I think it's this development that separates Turkey and Iran from the other countries in the Muslim Middle East. It is that these are countries that have a century of working toward democracy. Democracy is not an idea that was brought to them by a foreign army at the point of a gun last week. It's something that they themselves decided 100 years ago that they wanted. I think democracy really can take hold anywhere, but there's two requirements. First of all, it takes time, because democracy is not just an election. Democracy is a whole approach to life's problems. Secondly, it has to be brought into a country by the desire of the people who live there. If you use those criteria, Turkey and Iran are the only two countries that have made this 100-year process. Now, of course, the progress towards democracy in Turkey and Iran has not been without setbacks, and we're in a big setback moment in Iran right now. Nonetheless, that should not obscure the fact that these countries have a democratic culture that's very similar to our own. Their societies have much more in common with our society than the societies of our so-called allies, like Saudi Arabia, for example, which has nothing in common with the US.